a population of just 530,000. Cape Verde, the talk of the footballing world in the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Drawn into the fires of Group H against former world champions Spain and Uruguay, alongside a highly resourced Saudi Arabia squad, pundits wrote them off. Data models predicted 0 points. Nobody expected them to survive a single 90-minute block. Instead, they shattered the matrix entirely. By the end of this video, we'll know exactly how this tiny nation managed one of the most impressive performances in international football. Cape Verde has accomplished the impossible. 3 matches played, 0 defeats. They opened their maiden campaign by holding Spain to a 0-0 standstill in Atlanta. They followed it with a breathless, heavy-hitting 2-2 draw against Uruguay. Finally, they locked down Saudi Arabia 0-0 to punch their ticket to the round of 32. 3 games, 3 points. A flawless 100% survival rate against pure footballing royalty. They average 1.0 points per game, advancing without securing a single victory. This translates into an absolute refusal to be broken. In tournament football, avoiding defeat is mathematically and psychologically more valuable than risking structure for high-risk victories. They have turned the draw into a lethal, calculated weapon. Here is where the system truly clicks. Under manager Bubista, the Blue Sharks refuse to play stereotypical underdog football. They do not just pack the penalty box and pray for the whistle. They deploy a rigid, hyper-disciplined 4-1-2-3 formation. This is a technical foundation sourced from leagues across Europe and assembled into a cohesive, impenetrable block. Look at their passing metrics. A team possession average of 42% against elite opposition is absolutely massive for a debutant nation. They do not view the ball as a threat. When they win it, they keep it. They rest on the ball, denying opponents the relentless crashing waves of attack that usually crush smaller, inexperienced teams. Their midfield is a meticulously designed engine room. Kevin Pina anchors the defensive triangle with absolute authority. Instead of forcing desperate long balls up to the strikers, Cape Verde insists on progressive passing through the thirds. They average 28 progressive carries per 90 minutes. They physically drag the opposition out of their defensive shape, forcing elite midfielders to track back, sprint, and burn critical energy reserves. The pivot drops between the centre-backs, the full-backs push high, the opposition midfield steps up, a sudden vertical pass breaks the lines. Deroy Duarte receives on the half-turn in the pocket of space. He bypasses 3 closing defenders in a single fluid motion, instantly shifting the tempo from a defensive block into a full-throttle transition. When they enter the final third, the chaos is highly orchestrated. They do not cross the ball blindly into the mixer. Everything flows through their wide outlets, heavily utilising Ryan Mendes and Dylan Livramento. Their XA, expected assists distribution, is heavily weighted toward the half spaces. Refusing to get trapped on the touchline, they wait for the clinical cutback. They prioritise high-value chances over sheer volume. They will not shoot from 35 yards out just to hear the crowd gasp. They patiently construct the exact geometric angle required to break world-class goalkeepers. Let's look at the raw data. They scored exactly 2 goals in the tournament, both arriving in that massive clash against Uruguay. Their team XG, expected goals for that match, sat at a modest 1.3, yet they scored twice. This translates into lethal overperformance. They are ruthlessly efficient. When the window opens, they strike with surgical precision. They do not need 10 shots to score. They only need 1 perfectly engineered sequence. But wait until you see what they do off the ball. This is the major pattern reveal. When you combine their low possession metrics with their incredibly high defensive engagement, one profound insight emerges. They are completely dictating the flow of the game without the ball. They boast a PPDA, passes per defensive action, of 8.2. They suffocate the opposition the moment the ball is lost. They do not blindly retreat into a low block. They trigger highly targeted pressing traps. When the opposition centre-back looks down to control the ball, the trap snaps shut. The manager's system dictates exactly when to drop and absorb, and exactly when to unleash a relentless, coordinated high press. Spain rely on slow, methodical possession to lull defences to sleep. Cape Verde anchored their game on absolute central control and sustained pressure. They completely nullified Spain. They forced Spain into sterile, U-shaped passing around the perimeter of the pitch. Cape Verde's central compactness is impenetrable, and if an opponent finally breaks through, they meet a 40-year-old titan. Goalkeeper Vozinha secured 2 clean sheets in the group stage. He joins Dino Zoff and Peter Shilton as the only goalkeepers in World Cup history to record multiple shutouts after turning 40. He is a brick wall standing behind an iron gate. Opponents become psychologically exhausted. Utter frustration leads to forced errors, which Cape Verde instantly punishes. But no system is flawless, and the ultimate test is looming. They face the ultimate boss fight, the round of 32, against the reigning world champions, Argentina. They cannot rely on luck. To survive this matchup in Miami, Cape Verde must execute a flawless 3-step tactical masterclass. Argentina enters the knockouts having effortlessly dominated Group J, largely fueled by their talismanic 39-year-old captain Lionel Messi, leading the tournament's goal-scoring charts. Argentina thrives on central overloads. They use short, intricate passing to suffocate teams right down the middle of the pitch. Cape Verde's midfield anchor, Kevin Pina, cannot survive on an island against that level of technical brilliance. They must seamlessly shift their rigid 4-1-2-3 into a hyper-compact 4-5-1 out of possession by compressing the space between their midfield and defensive lines to less than 15 yards. They deny Argentina the exact half spaces they use to dismantle defensive blocks. Their central compactness forces opponents into low-percentage crosses from the touchline. This means Cape Verde neutralizes technical superiority by turning the game into a physical aerial battle, a domain where centre-backs Logan Costa and Roberto Lopez absolutely dominate. Second, they have to trigger their counter-press flawlessly. If you just park the bus against Argentina for 90 minutes, you lose. It is a mathematical certainty. Cape Verde must deploy their aggressive 8.2 PPDA, specifically targeting Argentina's defensive transitions. When Argentina commits their fullbacks high up the pitch, massive pockets of space open up behind them. That is when Bubista's trap must snap shut. The ball is won in the defensive third. The pivot instantly turns. The Argentine midfield scrambles to recover. A sudden vertical pass shatters the high line. This translates into isolating forwards Dylan Livramento and Ryan Mendes in one-on-one sprints against retreating centre-backs. Cape Verde does not need 60% possession to win this game. They only need 2 perfectly engineered counter-attacks to break the world champions. Finally, survival rests on the man between the sticks, goalkeeper Vozinha. Facing a guaranteed onslaught of high XG, expected goals chances, the 40-year-old veteran must deliver a third masterclass. He must not just stop shots. He must command his penalty area, catch crosses to kill the tempo, and mentally exhaust the Argentine front line. If the stars align on Saturday, July 4th, Cape Verde could execute the greatest upset in the history of international football. How do you rate Cape Verde's achievements so far? And do you think they have what it takes to beat Argentina? Tell us in the comments.